Thank you for taking the time for this interview.
Yeah.
My name is Terence Shen. I'm an independent journalist and also a social media influencer and a media contributor. I have over 1 million subscribers and followers on YouTube and X. Now,
Wow.
thank you. Earlier today, I asked Mr. Polyev a question about foreign interference during his press conference. And his response made me think even more deeply about this issue. Given your experience, personal experience, and leadership on this topic, I wanted to hear your perspective as well. I have two main questions for you. One is on foreign interference. So, what's your take on Paul Chang's comments? Do you see this as a part of a larger problem with how the current liberal government is dealing with foreign interference? In the US, the FBI has arrested people who were working for the CCP. And what's stopping Canada from taking similar action? And how would a conservative government enforce Bill C-70, the Countering Foreign Interference Act?
Well, thank you, Terence, for that question. I think the comments from Mr. Chang are very concerning. And they're concerning because they confirm that the Carney government and the Carney Liberal Party is the same old Liberal Party of Mr. Trudeau. They confirmed that, just like Mr. Trudeau's government did, that this Carney government and the Liberal Party under Carney are turning a blind eye to foreign interference threat activities here on Canadian soil. And so that's what's so concerning about these comments. They're also concerning because there have been at least 3 documented cases of Canadians in Canada being coerced to go back to the PRC. There was an example highlighted in a Justice Department indictment that was unsealed in a Brooklyn, New York courtroom, Brooklyn, New York court in October of 2022 that highlighted the case of a Canadian in Vancouver who had been coerced at the end of 2018 to go back to the PRC for further interrogation. This is a violation of Canadian law. It's foreign interference. There are safeguard defenders. The International Human Rights Organization has said that there are at least 2 other documented cases of Canadians being forced against their will to go back to the PRC. And in that context, with the CCP putting a bounty on a number of Canadians' heads now, 2 in particular, Mr. Joe Tay, and secondly, Mr. Dennis Kwok, it becomes even more alarming. And so for someone who was a Liberal MP, who was part of the Carney government, who was part of the Trudeau government, who was most recently a parliamentary secretary, for this individual to suggest that people should take Mr. Tay, a Canadian citizen, and turn him into the PRC consulate in return for a $180,000 US bounty is outrageous. And the fact that this has been known now for several days, and Mr. Carney has still not removed or instructed the party or the local association to remove Mr. Chang as a candidate, indicates to me that it's the same old Liberal government that turns a blind eye to foreign interference when it suits them, and that neglects our national security.
Can you briefly talk about the Bill C-70? And because the Mr. Polyev told me like a few days ago, conservative government should focus on implement it because it's already passed.
The Bill C-70 was introduced by then Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc last year. I worked with Minister LeBlanc to see the bill's passage through the House of Commons and the Senate. And we support the measures in this bill. Broadly speaking, there are 2 important measures in this bill as it relates to foreign interference. The first measure makes it a criminal offense to engage in any criminal activity in Canada at the direction of a foreign entity or a foreign government. It increases the penalty for criminal activity that has been so conducted. And I believe that there is a chance that what has happened here in Markham Unionville could constitute an offense under the law that was passed, Bill C-70. The second thing that has happened with Bill C-70 has yet to be implemented. and that is that it creates a foreign influence transparency registry that requires anybody acting at the direction of or for the benefit of a foreign state to register. We require lobbyists in Ottawa to register if they're acting on behalf of or at the direction of or in return for remuneration of a corporation. Surely it's reasonable for us to require people who are acting at the direction of a foreign government to do the same. So that's what that registry will do. Unfortunately, as I understand it, it's not yet been implemented, and if we form government, we will implement it.
Another question about the same issue is how can Chinese Canadian community leaders like us be part of that solution, working with the government together to push back against interference?
Very good question, Terence. If I could say it by repeating one simple word: sunlight, sunlight, sunlight. Sunlight is the best disinfectant for foreign interference. We need to get more information out there to the public, to the Chinese community, to Canadians at large about the foreign interference activities that are taking place here on Canadian soil. In many cases, foreign interference doesn't rise to the level of a criminal prosecution. In many cases, it's activities that don't rise to the level or are very difficult to prove in a criminal trial. But nevertheless, they are deeply damaging to our democracy. They're deeply damaging to Parliament, and they threaten minority communities, particularly communities, for example, like the Chinese community. And so in those cases, the best way to counter this foreign interference is to bring it up into the daylight so that people know what's going on, and that forcing entities like the Chinese Communist Party to understand that we know what's going on, and they're not going to be able to conduct these activities secretly, that we're going to shine a spotlight on it to protect our communities and our fellow citizens.
And the other question is about the trade with China. Canada has implemented several tariffs on Chinese imports, including a 100% tariffs on electric vehicles and a 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum products. In response, China announced retaliatory tariffs. How would the Conservative government approach to this issue as a part of Canada First policy to protect Canadian industries and jobs, addressing trade imbalances and ensuring fair competition?
Well, Terence, that's a great question. We're going to take the same approach to dealing with tariffs that China has imposed on Canadian exports as we are taking with the tariffs that have been imposed by the U.S. administration on Canadian exports to the United States. That is to say, we're going to strengthen our own economy here at home. That starts by removing the interprovincial trade barriers that some economists have estimated are costing us up to 4%, maybe even 7% of our GDP annually. We're going to be making Canada one of the best places in the world to invest in a business. Currently, the government has driven out business investment through its tax policies, its regulatory policies, the laws that they have pushed through Parliament over the last 10 years. They've basically made it very difficult to invest in Canadian companies, to start a new business here by proposing to increase capital gains taxes. They previously increased income taxes. So they've increased taxes on investment and income that have driven away investment in this country, which is why Canada is one of the few large economies whose capital stock has dropped over the last several years. They've done things like pass bills through Parliament that have effectively banned any new major natural resource projects. So that's why, even though Japan, for example, other places in the Indo-Pacific region like Taiwan, that's why countries like Germany came here begging for us to supply them with natural gas, and we turned them away because of the government's restrictive development policy. So we are going to unleash development in this country, unleash investment into our private sector, into new businesses, by lowering taxes on income and investment, by reforming the regulatory approval process for major natural resource projects such as liquefied natural gas, other major pipeline projects. And so that is going to be a big part of our response to countering the tariffs that others are imposing on us. We think there's many other markets around the world. There are our internal markets here within Canada between provinces that we can access. And so that is going to be a big focus if we form government.
Yeah, if you increase the exports, of course, the imbalance will be solved.
Yes. Well, Terrence, here's an example of what I'm talking about. So 20 years ago in North America, neither the United States nor Canada exported liquefied natural gas. Mm. We had no capacity either south of the border or north of the border to have any quantity of LNG exported either to Asia or to Europe. In the last 10 years, the United States has built over half a dozen major LNG export facilities. Mm. And as a result, the US has gone from exporting no natural gas overseas to being the world's #1 LNG exporter. Just in the last several years, they've overtaken every other country in the world, and they are now the world's #1 LNG exporter. And the irony is, a lot of the LNG they are exporting is Canadian natural gas that's being shipped by pipeline south to the United States, and they are then getting multiple higher margins on that gas because it's LNG than we are. So that's because the current government has effectively blocked pipelines. And so we now find ourselves in a situation with an American trading partner that doesn't want to trade with us like we once used to. And, we need to build east-west pipelines so that we can get our gas to Tidewater, to Blue Water, and get our gas to Europe and to Asia. So that's an example of the very different approach a conservative government would take compared to the current liberal government.
Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate your insights and leadership on these important matters. That's the end of today's interview. Thank you again for your time. I hope in the future we can talk about foreign interference and what's happening in the community with you or with the government. Yeah, we can work together, to make it happen. Yeah.
I'm happy to do that. Thank you for having me, Terrence.
Thank you very much. Let me know if you need anything else from me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.